Hey guys, now that Tasha K has had the meeting of creditors and they're trying to iron out some type of payment, they haven't ironed out the payment yet because they still have to do discovery. They still have to, Cardi B's attorneys still have to find out exactly the assets that Tasha have because they are aware, make no bones about it, they are aware that Tasha K is hiding funds, okay? She's hiding funds over there in Africa because she herself told on herself. And we all saw that video. So that was not the smartest thing for her to do. She got to know when to zip it. But she's out there talking a lot of ish because she says now that she's filed for bankruptcy that nobody can come after her. That is not true. The people who she listed in the bankruptcy papers cannot come after her, but everybody else can. The this bankruptcy filing for Chapter 11 was a smart move because now that she's filed, everybody has to stop coming after her, and that freed up her YouTube checks. She is still getting those YouTube checks. Cardi B managed to get a few dollars from that, but now it's free now for her to start receiving those funds again because of the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing. So this is another video that I came up with. So this is another reaction video. And this one is interesting. It's kind of detailed. There's this attorney who is on the internet and she covers various topics. Right now, she's doing Tasha K, and she comes under the banner of Girl, Is That Legal? And I just wanted you guys to hear what she had to say concerning the Tasha K, Cardi B, bankruptcy, Chapter 11, and reorganization of Tasha K's assets. And so let's listen to what she has to say. I'm going to be interjecting, doing my commentary in between. So guys, hit the like button, get it out of the way. And if you have not subscribed as yet, please do so. Now, let's get back to the video.
So basically, Tasha K made this post. Now, she had been going back and forth with Cardi B and really upset Cardi B when she made reference to Offset's death, basically implying that Cardi was responsible for it, etc. And that really set Cardi off. So as a result, Cardi made a post about how basically she wants Tasha K's kids to have no college fund. So she was that high. So the comment that Tasha K posted, she says, facetiously, I want to send a sincere apology out to Barty Gang. It's my fault as to why y'all don't have a second album. She's been in court with me for 6 years, distracted from her purpose. Now going on 7. Atlantic, which is her record company, is broke and won't help pay for a second album. Offset is in court fighting to release an album, and my sister-in-law sold her rights to her catalog off way too early in her career, talking about Cardi B. She said now there's no money to produce the album. She's constantly taking car insurance ads to keep the lights on and pay lawyers to continue to chase me down for money I don't have.
So here's the thing, folks. Tasha K says she wants this to go away, but yet she's antagonizing Cardi B by putting out these type of statements. Let's continue.
I'm so sorry for distracting y'all, Queen. Between me and the surgeons, we owe y'all a huge apology. Atlantic refuses to give her any money to produce a second album because she took such a loss on her first album that she's now starting to promote 6 years later. Again, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. But if you want music, real consistent music, please stream. And she says, Barty World, basically. So I posted, I said, I feel sorry for your husband. You're taking money out of your household strictly for ego because Lord knows I know all about that. I should have added that because I know all about that. And I said, it didn't have to go this far. And I left a little heart emoji, because I meant it with love. So she responds. She says, Attorney Simone Redwine, this is the 3rd post you've made about my husband. Why is an attorney and TV producer so worried about my husband? Are you still trying to secure yours at the overly educated age of 50? Child, my husband initiated the lawsuit. I'm just the mouth. Anyways, when are you getting married to your TV fiance? I can't wait to report on him and his side beat. Coming soon to a blog near you. Leave the blogs? Leave the blogs alone. Go fight a case, plan a wedding, and leave the dark women to fight in the mud. Now, let me say this. We're nobody talking about no dark skin, light skin, except for her. Now, I think she's referring to the fact that she is dark skinned and Cardi B is not, and she felt I'm taking Cardi B's side, perhaps. But I've made no such comments. And for her to say this was the third time I spoke on her husband, I don't know about that on her page, but I do know I have been on other podcasters' pages, YouTube channels rather, where we have broken down her lawsuits. We've been doing that now for over a year.
Again, this is the YouTuber girl, is that legal? Go check her out. Who also happens to be a lawyer.
And so each time I have so much empathy for her husband, right? Because I do feel like her antics are taking money out of the household. And with her being a big personality, me being a big personality, I know how challenging it is to find a mate who supports you as her husband does in every possible way. And it just seems like at this point, the taunting and all of this has gone too far because now she's having to do all this stuff with the money that is impacting her family.
So basically, she just explained to us that Tasha K came after her because she thought she was picking sides.
Now, let's get to what really matters. I just had to address the elephant in the room with regards to that. So with Tasha K, so the title of this one is Tasha K's bankruptcy leading her to jail time. And my answer is I don't see how she's not going to get an IRS audit because as we break it down, you're going to see some lies all up in her bankruptcy records. She's either getting an IRS audit, indicted for things like fraud or money laundering or hiding money or tax evasion, or that her antics could be taken so far that she doesn't get to file bankruptcy. Like she files bankruptcy, but she gets nothing dismissed. You see, just because you filed for bankruptcy doesn't mean the court is going to forgive all your debts. So let's get into it. So let's start with this lady. We're going to start there. Okay. So first today, Tasha went off on her live on her Instagram talking about, see, can't nobody sue me. I'm not worried about getting indicted. I'm not worried about any other lawsuits because can't nobody sue me because she's filed for bankruptcy. Wrong again. So first, what's interesting is when you file for bankruptcy, as she has done, it is true that bankruptcy automatically stays all collection activities. So a bunch of people were like, how come she didn't file a long time ago? Well, she was clever. I will give her this. She was very clever in how she did it. So with her bankruptcy, what she did, which was really smart, she waited until Cardi B started trying to collect. So basically, she's used the last year since 2022, when all this stuff was happening, to hide her assets. She's just been hiding everything out, just hide it all. Here's the timeline that matters. We got. So the timeline is this, y'all. So remember, the case was initially filed back in 2019. Peep this. This is going to be important. We're going to go back to it. Tasha K filed her Tasha K Live trademark back in 2021. This stuff's going to be important, okay? She also, here we go. She also, and I feel like she filed that trademark because she knew she was about to lose this and wanted to start moving things from her regular Tasha K over to Tasha K Live.
Now, when she said she knew she was going to lose, she's talking about a defamation lawsuit between herself, between Tasha K and Cardi B. She knew she was going to lose that case, and so she began to allegedly hide her assets.
Okay, big, good business move, but we're going to talk about how it's still considered fraud. That's cute, but still fraud.
So you guys heard that. That's considered fraud, what Tasha K has been doing. And I wonder if she's fully aware of what she's doing. She can go to jail for that.
Good business move, but we're going to talk about how it's still considered fraud. That's cute, but still fraud. So you can go to jail and be as cute as you want in jail. And it says Cardi B wins in February 22. A month later, Tasha B transfers her home, which was her main asset, to her husband. She also terminates Kevy's studios. So, y'all, we got to go back to her old verdict.
So this is just after she lost that case. She started all this transferring. She put a house in her husband's name. Now it's so blatant. Even Stevie Wonder can see that fraud was going on here. And I don't know why she did it that way, because there are other ways that you can do it without not being so in your face, so blatant, telling the world that you're committing a fraud because you lost this case. You're going to start hiding everything, so you won't have to give this woman what you owe her.
So we got the judgment for Tasha K. So basically, her overall judgment was, okay, the jury awarded $1 million was against Tasha K only. Follow this, because this is going to be important with the bankruptcy. $1 million for punitive against Tasha K, $500 against Kevy Studios. And then both Tasha and Kevy are considered jointly and severally liable for basically $2.3 million more. So what that means is whether she files for bankruptcy, it's still going to be, her studio is still going to have to pay. So bankruptcy might let her get out of it. However, it's not going to let both her and the studio get out of it unless they both file. Well, Miss Things thinks she's slick. She is currently only filed for herself. But you'll see, I'm going to post the record, I'm going to share it. What she's done is she's posted it. She's filed only for herself, but she's listing both things that she has and Kevy Studios. All right, so here we go. The reason she's doing that is because basically she doesn't want to have to bankrupt Kevy Studios. Because if she bankrupts Kevy Studios, guess what has to go with it? Her Tasha K Live, any and all revenue of Tasha K as an entity, as a business, endorsements, all of that is up for bankruptcy too. And most importantly, what she's doing is reorganization. So that means she wants to be able to keep operating. That's how come when she filed for bankruptcy and Cardi B got like the little $9 out of the one bank account, they weren't able, Cardi B's attorneys had to stop trying to look for assets because she filed. However, technically, they only had to stop against Tasha K because it appears that from the records that we have here, she only filed for herself.
So guys, it looks like if Tasha K was trying to outsmart the court, outsmart Cardi B's attorneys, but she fell into her own trap. Because by listing herself alone, she was trying to save the assets of KB Studios. But by doing so, and not putting down the studio as part of the bankruptcy, now she opened herself to more legal jeopardy.
However, technically, they only had to stop against Tasha K because it appears that from the records that we have here, she only filed for herself. She didn't file for her business. All right, so here's her bankruptcy form, right? So here's what's most important. It's her voluntary petition, blah, blah, blah. It's got a little information on there. We're gonna scroll quick past that. But then, when we go further down, let's see, is it this one? Here we go. Y'all see this one? Yes. So this one it says for individual Chapter 11 cases, this is a list of her creditors. But what you have to do as well is you have to list whether anyone else is filing with you. She's filing by herself, and you see amount for debtor too. There's no additional debtor here. There's no additional debtor. And you see on the actual filing, she lists her husband and she lists her business as two parties that are related, right? This is a statement allegedly of her monthly income. So you see here, she has listed her income allegedly as $3,800 for the month. $3,800 a month, that's it. That's all she's claiming that she has. Okay, Tasha. Okay, you say so, Tasha. But on her forms, here, She's got stuff that's both hers and her company's. So she's got her location. She's got, here we go, her husband's information. She has him as a related party. All right, so you see here, she wrote her co-debtors, right? So number one, she puts, this is her husband, these are her studios. All right, because basically you list your co-debtors to say, hey, these are my debts, but there's also other people. Now you see it. Yeah. So first, yes, we've already covered, she lied about her income. She's saying she only makes the $3,800. But then she has co-debtors. These are co-debtors. It clearly says here, do not include your spouse as a co-debtor if your spouse is filing with you. Got it. Okay, so we're seeing her spouse is not filing with her. And it says, list the person shown again in line to da-da-da-da. And as well, her studio is, again, not filing with her. Now, let's go back to some of the juicy parts. I enjoyed looking at the part about her income. Now, it says here she has 2 stages of income. They're both as content creator. So I saw this. It was content creator, self-employed. That's what she's saying she gets only the $3,000 a month for. So she's basically trying to act like she is an employee of an entity, another business entity. She's just the employee, trying to prevent them from going after the actual company. And then I saw this here, Yellen Entertainment. I'm like, who is this?
Guys, Yellen Entertainment is the new company that Tasha K has established, and it's under her husband's name. KB Studio has been dismantled, but then she opened up this new company right after. So it looks suspicious that she transferred assets from KB Studios into Yellen Company. And then she put it under the husband's name to protect the company, because Cardi B is not going after her husband. Cardi B is coming after her.
Well, I went back and I was like, because remember, she got sued as KB Studios. So I went back to her other records and saw, oh, that's interesting, because she terminated KB Studios in April of this year. Why? To try and avoid them being part of her bankruptcy. So basically what she did after the court ruled against her is these are considered generally, they're considered fraudulent transfers. Basically, you cannot get a judgment against you. She got a judgment against her in February of 2022. And once you get that judgment, start moving money from all of the businesses that you had. In fact, the court specifically said you can't move the money around or you will be considered in contempt.
So that's what Cardi B was talking about, folks. When Cardi B made that live and said that Tasha K is going to jail because the judge told her not to move money around, and now she has moved money around, she's going to go to jail. That's what Cardi B was talking about.
So what she could be facing is actual jail time. Because see, usually you can, I'm reading the comments. Usually you can never go to jail for a bankruptcy, right? That's the whole point of it. However, when you start doing shady stuff and when you are a celebrity, what happens is you trigger an IRS investigation.
I'm glad she cleared that up, folks, because I wasn't sure why the IRS was in the courtroom. But now she explained it. Now I understand that because Tasha K is considered a celebrity, that's what triggered IRS to start investigating her. And they had a representative in the courtroom, as well as on the 27th of this month when they had that hearing for the meeting of the creditors.
Because the IRS knows Tasha K is a celebrity. And the IRS does not like it when celebrities try to avoid paying taxes. So here, it appears it's going to be an issue for Tasha K of either you are lying on your bankruptcy documents or you're lying when you file your taxes. Either or. Both of them are considered perjury and can lead to charges. We're going to get to that. But here, right here, we're going to go back to this one in part 2. All right, so we're coming back to her bankruptcy document. Look here. She says for her monthly overtime pay and everything is this $3,200, but Yellen Entertainment makes $2,200. It says for debtor number 2 or non-filing spouse. Basically, all she did was close Kebby Studios and reopen it under the name of Yellen Entertainment. It's the same exact thing. And she's claiming that this is how much. So that's this. Then these numbers, the 22K, this is for, it says debtor 2 or non-filing spouse. So it looks like this is what she's claiming her new entity, Yellen Entertainment, makes, which is only $22,000 a month. And that would be after expenses. So it looks like here, these are the payroll deductions, this $5,600, different deductions here. At the end of the day, that company who is a non-debtor, meaning they are not filing for bankruptcy, she's just letting you know that they also are debtors. This co-debtor is her employer. Now, and you see it's only been around for 1 year. Why? Because she ended Kebby Studios and started this one to hide her money. Now let's go back to the juicy part of it. For me as a lawyer, I was like, girl, you're slick, but you're not that slick. Now, one thing that I applaud her attorneys for, and that was really wise, is filing for Chapter 11. Let me quickly tell you what Chapter 11 is and why it was genius of her to pick that one to file. So Chapter 11 bankruptcy is different from the other two because Chapter 11 is the form of bankruptcy that lets businesses keep operating and restructure just with lower payments. So it's generally for businesses, or it could be for a person who says, I want to keep going. I don't want to close my business, but I need to move some stuff around so that I can keep existing. Well, I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, well, why would you want to keep going? And why wouldn't you want to just close out, start fresh? Because we all know I've been dealing with, with financial things, right? And I'm usually like, hey, close it out, start fresh. Well, it's because if you completely terminate your business, then you have to, if you completely terminate your business, you have to sell all the assets. She doesn't want to do that. But what Chapter 11 does is when you file it, you get an automatic stay. So it prevents any foreclosures. It prevents any ongoing debt collection. And it lets you, it actually forces everybody that you owe money to accept a payment plan. This was genius. So while she's been out here taunting Cardi B, and Cardi B is like, I want every dime, technically under this chapter, it's not up to what Cardi B wants to agree to. She done pissed her off so much. Cardi B ain't agreeing to no damn payment plan. But under Chapter 11, a judge will force her to, potentially could force her to.
So this is why Tasha K is taunting Cardi B now, because she knows under Chapter 11, she don't have to pay back all that money. She's going to pay it back at a reduced rate, and it's going to be very small in comparison to $4 million, maybe something in the neighborhood of $500,000, which I'm sure Tasha K can afford because she's making, by a lot of people's estimate, at least $1 million a year.
And so here, basically, though, with Chapter 11 is super effective in this situation for companies like Tasha K that want to keep operating while they pay off their debts under renegotiated and reasonable terms. The law says it has to be renegotiated terms and reasonable. Here, the issue is that is the payment plan going to be reasonable, whatever it is? Also, bankruptcy isn't automatic. They have one attorney that is appointed and paid for by the courts that looks over the repayment plan and does a deep dive on behalf of all the creditors. And they're going to look at the records and they're going to say, do we really think this is what she made? Okay, if she makes $3,000 a month, okay, how is she maintaining the lifestyle that she has? And is she truly making this? Or this attorney is, of course, going to investigate Tasha K's her own statement. So remember when Tasha K went over to Africa after the judgment and everything, she goes to Africa and she takes photos in front of the bank and talks about depositing all this money in an African bank. Now, Tasha K, we know she loves to troll. So there's a chance she didn't do that. However, when you're making fun of the court system, the court doesn't take well to that. So even though usually in Chapter 11, would be a tool to force Cardi B into a payment plan she would otherwise never accept, a court can find that Tasha K was hiding assets, that she has basically made a mockery of the court system, and that they are not going to force the traditional payment plan. They can even say they're not going to force any payment plan. IRS, she knows she owes them something. This is smart. This is smart. She knows she owes them something, but she put zero. This could help her because, again, right now she's hiding assets. You cannot lie to either the bankruptcy court or the IRS. But there's really no way for her to be able to not tell the IRS about her income without being in trouble. Even if she shifts it to the business has to, pay on behalf of her. Where it talks about any of your transactions that you made just, prior to filing bankruptcy. This is really critical. So we've gone through her assets. We pretty much know what she's stating her assets are, her liabilities. Again, she only lists herself as a debtor, but she's listing as debtor 2, which is supposed to be 1,000. She lists debts throughout this that are debts of her company. So we got, look, during the last 3 years, statement of financial affairs. So what this area does is the law is really clear. And this is where I think Cardi B is going to be able to try and find more money that can be available to satisfy the debt, which is that the law says that if you make certain transfers of your property or assets within a certain time period before filing for bankruptcy, those transfers could be set aside as fraudulent transfers. And then for those assets should be up for, they should be available to satisfying certain debts. Here we go.
So this is where Tasha K is getting herself in trouble because the law says, based on the reading, that if you make any transfers before you file for bankruptcy, it's looked at as fraudulent. But Tasha K went a step further. She filed after the judgment. She didn't even file before or just before. She went after. That's when she started to transfer her money to that African bank in Mali. So that's definitely considered fraud.
In the last 3 years, have you owned any property? In the last 3 years, what are the places you lived, right? So she said from August to 2020 to July, it was in this Lawrenceville address, wages and commissions. Oh, and this is the money that she claims, though, she made last year, okay, in 2022 before she filed for bankruptcy. So she was saying she's only made $11,000 all year this year, okay? Mind you, that's probably what the LLC is simply allocating to her as an independent contractor or employee. Last year, though, she individually, not her company, not her businesses, she's saying she made $134. The year before that, she made $156. Again, this is just her gross income personally. Does not even include what Kevy Studios earned, which, we firmly believe is a lot more. Now, it says, list certain payments you made before you filed for bankruptcy. Are either of the debts primarily consumer debts? This is important. Are either one or two's debts primarily consumer debts? She says no. Okay, so we go to no. So in other words, it's more business stuff. So then within a year of filing bankruptcy, have you done anything? No. Here. Identify any legal actions, any money that people, any lawsuits within a year. She lists this lawsuit. Then you come on down. She lists that. Apparently she owes Cardi B an extra $10,000. All right, we got that. List certain gifts and contributions. Within 2 years before bankruptcy, she lists that she gave her car to somebody named Kiana Christopher. Number 14. Right. Then the next was, within 2 years before bankruptcy, did you have any gifts or contribution with a value of over $600 charity? Well, we know no, she didn't do that. All right, stay with me. Certain payments or transfers. Within a year of bankruptcy, did you or anyone on your behalf transfer any property to anyone that you consulted about seeking bankruptcy or filing bankruptcy. That's okay. That's a lawyer. So she lists that, 6100. Within a year, did you or anyone, here we go, within 2 years before you filed bankruptcy, did you sell, trade, or otherwise transfer any property to anybody other than property transferred in the ordinary course of your business or affairs? She states yes. Include both outright transfers and transfers made as security. Do not include gift transfers that you have already listed on this statement. Now, here it is. This is her home. It says, debtor took her name off the deed of the property located at this. Describe any property or payments. None. That was correct. So she transfers her property to her husband last year because we knew that she had done that. But this can be set aside by Cardi B because we know why she did that. Because in the lawsuit, her husband, Shutterstock, was not sued. However, the business was. So by transferring it to her husband.
So guys, this is where the fraud comes in. And it's multiple types of fraud. We're talking about the money that went over to Africa that she herself said she did. We're talking about the transfer of the house into her husband's name as well. So we're talking about multiple types of frauds.
The goal is to save the house. Now, if I was Cardi B, I would set this. I would definitely have something to say with this because look at the transfer. Here we go. She gave this man for nothing, which she acknowledged on her bankruptcy doc. She gave him the house. What would be the only reason you would give this man the house right after? This was the month after she got the verdict against her. Y'all have been married for 15 years. They've been married a good long time. And all those years, you never went and transferred the deed out of your name and into his? That's casebook, textbook, classbook example of the kind of fraudulent transfers, okay? So basically what Cardi B's team is going to be doing is they're going to be going through, they're going to demand a hearing, and then they're going to demand discovery. They're going to demand that she explain, like, why are you doing that? That also says to me, she wants to preserve her home. She wants to preserve some of these assets for her family, as you should. But you got to be honest because, baby, you don't want to end up like Miss Teresa. Here, we're gonna switch sides. So, y'all remember Teresa Giudice from, what do they call that? Real Housewives of New Jersey. So many people think that Teresa Giudice, the reason that she and her husband went to jail, he was doing a bunch of fraudulent real estate stuff. That was absolutely true. He got 41 months. But many don't realize she didn't go to jail for helping him. The only reason Teresa went to jail was for lying on her bankruptcy documents. Specifically, Real Housewives of New Jersey star sentenced to prison for conspiracy, bankruptcy fraud, and tax offenses. Bankruptcy fraud and tax offenses. He gets 41 months, she gets 15. Specifically, it says, the Giudices each pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy for mail fraud, 1 count of bankruptcy fraud by concealment of assets, and 1 count of bankruptcy fraud by false oaths, and 1 count of bankruptcy fraud by false declarations.
So hopefully Tasha K is aware of all of this. So when she gets out there and makes statements, try to hide assets, she knows the consequences. She's got 2 children to think of. Guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel, it's free. It's a good time to do so. And please hit that like button as you come onto the page. Thank you.
So you can't be playing with these bankruptcy courts. You can't do it. Don't nobody want to go to jail for bankruptcy. Like, bankruptcy is supposed to protect you. But you can't be playing with these courts trying to antagonize Cardi B through this process. And more specifically, it goes down to say, it says the Giudices together deceived financial institutions with patently false loan applications, were dishonest when they sought the protection of bankruptcy court, and hid assets and income from the trustee. And her husband cheated the government by failing to pay taxes for years of income. When they pleaded guilty, they both admitted to swearing to statements. So all those bankruptcy records we already looked at, those are considered statements that they knew were lies. Now, Tasha K is going to have a chance to avoid and not end up like Teresa. And that in Teresa's case, the bankruptcy attorney that was appointed kept sending them the papers back multiple times. Like, hey, you're missing assets. You're missing things. Put them down. And they kept playing around, omitting things. Or they would add some assets, but not all of them. So if Teresa Giudice could get 15 months just for this bankruptcy stuff, bankruptcy fraud, she didn't even do the real estate offenses her husband did, then if I were Tasha, I would not be playing with the bankruptcy court and I wouldn't be taunting them. Jada Jones says, Cardi already knows where she's hiding the money. Yeah, exactly. Like, because the money, this type of money is very easy to track because it's basically going to a few places. It's either, or it's coming from a few places. It's coming from YouTube, or it's coming from her website, Tasha K Live. Again, I'm sure she's claiming that Yellen Entertainment, remember she said that's her employer, that they're the owners. But you can set aside, in instances where you basically create new entities because you want to transfer assets, it doesn't count. So I anticipate Cardi B's lawyers are going to try and sit aside her new company, Yellen, because why is it Tasha K was doing just fine? In fact, their viewership increased over the course of the litigation and after. So what would be the justification for terminating it 1 month before filing for bankruptcy?
So guys, now you're getting a good insight as to the gist, as to the legal complexities that Tasha K has put herself into. And hopefully she manages to stay out the jail because she has done a lot of fraudulent stuff. And it's not alleged because she herself came out and said that she was hiding money over there in the bank in Mali.
I am trying to help. Seriously, there's time to fix it. But what will likely happen is she's going to have to if she wants to do this payment plan, the judge and her other creditors are not going to just sit back and be like, well, whatever you want to give us, which is kind of how it often works in the past. Because in Teresa's situation specifically, because 3 times they asked them, get your documents right, quit hiding assets, quit doing this stuff. Because she didn't, they prevented them from filing bankruptcy at all.
So hopefully that does not happen to Tasha K, where she's prevented from filing bankruptcy or having the bankruptcy that she filed, because she's already filed, maybe rescinded, because they can always rescind that bankruptcy and say, okay, she's fraudulent, hiding assets, transferring the house into her husband's name right after the judgment, etc. Doing all these things just before the judgment came through because she knew she was going to lose the case. So that's considered fraud.
They have millions and millions that they are going to have to pay. Somebody said we don't want to have her shoot a minute. But it's also important that just the regular person understands that, bankruptcy really is here to help the average person. But you don't get to file a court case and then be shucking and jiving about how you're not going to pay your debts. Especially when the type of bankruptcy she filed is one that says, hey, I'm operating in good faith. I want to keep my business going. I want to pay on my debts because I want to continue operating. So the long and the short of it is, based on Tasha K's own filings, it appears that she's only filing individually. But with Tasha K, she's either telling the truth on her bankruptcy documents, truly has not received this money, but that's not received any more income than the 3. But if the reason that you're only receiving $3,000 a month is because you're trying to avoid bankruptcy, then that doesn't cut it. Not only that, a bankruptcy judge could kick out the entire bankruptcy. She's at risk for them dismissing with prejudice for life her ability to file bankruptcy under any of these terms. and get any of this waived, especially due to the fact that she herself implied that she went to Africa and put money in the African bank. Now, someone asked, can they access the money in African bank? Largely, it depends, but usually American courts can only access assets located in America. That's why people have offshore bank accounts, right? They have them in the Canary Islands, various places. They like that because they feel that they're hiding it from America. But America's IRS is not stupid. People go to jail every year for hiding money offshore. You can have money offshore all you want. The only issue is that you just have to pay taxes on that money as required by the law. For example, I know that if your income, like if you live abroad, like Dubai, and your income exceeds around, your income is under 96K, you don't have to pay taxes on that income. But that's if you live there. If you are storing your assets out of the country, 99 times that's being done because they're trying to avoid taxes. And there's a special department in the IRS that just looks for that. The other thing the IRS and the feds love, because the feds are jerks, right? We all know. The feds, they don't play. And they hate when celebrities are trying to make a joke out of the process. They hate that. That's why, remember the first ever winner of Survivor, his name was Richard Hatch. Richard Hatch obviously won $1 million from Survivor. You know that man went to jail for tax evasion? They sure did. They wasn't playing with him. Wesley Snipes, Lauryn Hill. We can name so many celebrities. So celebrities are the first people that they want to take down for tax evasion. And guess what? Tax evasion includes, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think about this. Tax evasion includes failure to pay employee taxes. So this Yellen entity that she just created to pay herself, right? We saw on the first page of the bankruptcy document, she listed her employer as a company called Yellen. She's the one that said employer.
So you guys get that? Tasha K set up this Yellen company to pay herself, but the company is also in her husband's name. So there's something don't seem right, folks. And she set up that company right after dismantling or just doing away with KB Studios. So something looked very fraudulent here.
I hope they're paying their employee taxes every quarter to the state, because that's a tax lien there too. That's another issue there. But she was going to have to explain to the court, why is it she said on her own bankruptcy documents, she made 150, 148 last year and 150 the year before that. But now she's only earning $3,000 a month doing the exact thing. That's the thing.
Not only that, she has more views, more subscribers, and the content has not changed. She's still interviewing people.
How do you explain you're doing the literal exact thing you were doing last year? Your views have increased, because that's how come they ordered punitive damages, y'all. Is because she refused to take down the videos and all of this, and they were increasing, her views were increasing as the case progressed. So you're getting more views. We know that equates to more money, but yet you terminate your business. That is the exact textbook law school example of what we call a fraudulent transfer to avoid your debts. So it could very likely be that the bankruptcy decides not only are Tasha K's assets up for grabs, but Kebby Studios, because they're basically one and the same. Tasha K, Kebby Studios are one and the same. And this new entity she created, Yellen Entertainment, as well as her, so if Kebby Studios comes into play like that, remember, because she listed them as co-debtors, although she put them on as a co-debtor on the front page. That largely means some of the co-debtor in this instance means some of the debts that you owe are also owed by this other entity. So with Kebby Studios, for example, we know that together, I'm going to put that slide back up, together, they both owe this at least $2 million there, because they're jointly and severally That's 2.3. They both owe. Kebby owes an additional 50 in punitive, and then Tasha herself $1 million. So what this means is Tasha is obviously trying to get rid of the $3 million because she feels like, oh, 500, I can handle that. Understandable. I'm sure Kebby Studios can. But she might have been better off leaving Kebby Studios in existence, maybe not operating under, but leave it open and in existence, and then create the new Yellen Entertainment to be Tasha K Live. Someone asked, do we know if they file their taxes separately? We don't. I don't know that, but I can say this. This is a great question. Whether they file them joint or together, Florida is a common property state, community property state. So basically anything you have is half the other person's. So I don't know how that's going to work in a bankruptcy such as this, because she's filing it living in Florida. Florida has the best bankruptcy protection. We all know that because that's why O.J. Simpson moved there and will never leave. If you have a home in Florida, even if it's multi-millions, and you file bankruptcy, they will never make you sell your home. Do you know if they filed the taxes separately? And I said I wasn't sure. And someone else says, or have a post-nup, or do you know if they have a post-nup so they aren't both liable? That's a great question. So what a post-nup does is after you're married, it can be an agreement that going forward, this is how assets would be split. That would be genius. If they did that, that would be absolute genius, because they could do a post-nup after the verdict, and that post-nup is saying, I, Tasha K, am agreeing that Yellen Entertainment is completely your business. I don't have anything to it, and I am not entitled to any assets or anything from that. That would be smart, but the problem is going to be, the challenge is going to be that, a court is going to look at, why did you close the one very successful entity, Kebby Studios, and reopen another entity in a different name that is doing the identical thing? And why did all of this happen a month after you get the judgment against you? Those probably are going to be the biggest challenges, including the house. We talked about the house transfer, where she transferred the house, took her name off the deed into her husband's name. He gave her no money. There was no money exchange. There was no deal there. But she did that. Again, fraudulent transfer. Generally, a fraudulent transfer is assumed where transfers are made within a year of you filing bankruptcy in some instances. And then it appears it could be as much as like 2 or 3 in other instances, because you saw that section. They specifically asked her, have you transferred any real estate in the last 3 years? So the way around that would have been waiting 3 years. If she wanted to keep her house in Georgia, waiting 3 years to file bankruptcy so that you're no longer in those time periods.
Well, I'm afraid Cardi could not wait for the 3 years to be up before filing for bankruptcy. Time was of the essence because Cardi B was coming after her for every dime, including garnishing her YouTube checks. I think the checks are now free and is going to her now. Since the bankruptcy filing, now that all creditors cannot collect anything until this bankruptcy is complete. And so I think she's getting her checks again from YouTube. So time was of the essence. She couldn't wait for the 3-year mark.
In the end, I don't want her to end up like Teresa Giudice, because not only did Teresa have to do jail time for bankruptcy fraud, but again, she wasn't able to file bankruptcy at all. All those debts are completely due. Somebody said, but the judge told her not to transfer. That's right. The judge absolutely told her, do not make the transfers.
You see, that is not looking good for Tasha K, because that's a blatant disrespect towards the court. She disrespected the judge. The judge said don't do any type of transfers. And she went ahead and she did transfers. So she has disrespected the court. She has disrespected the judge. And they're not going to look at her too favorably. Are we going to see what happens in the near future?
It appears that, Kebby Studios is the both of theirs. It's not just her husband's. Excuse me. It's the both of theirs. And a judge is going to side-eye everything once he sees that the month after your judgment, you open a new company, you get trademarks under the new entity, which is Tasha K Live. You start operating under the new entity, doing the exact same thing, and you have no legitimate reason to do it other than to avoid paying for this debt. And as well, again, because she's not filing bankruptcy for Kebby Studios, she could, but because she hasn't, Kebby's still going to have to pay their $500K to Cardi B. That's fine. That's not a big deal. But she's still going to have to explain, and the court's going to be looking at her fraudulent transfers. Like, girl, what you got going on over here? So is the house in her husband's name and not her children's? That is correct. So to clarify, so yes, she transferred the house to her husband. You see here at the top, it says a gift transfer deed. She gave it to him for nothing the month after the verdict. So it is in her husband's name. But again, when it's a community property state, I don't know that that's going to make a big difference. Also, Florida will protect your homesteads that are located in Florida, but given that this property is in Georgia, I'm not sure if you will be able to completely protect it because Georgia only lets you protect like the first $300,000 worth of equity. The rest of it, you going to have to basically like, they can force a sale, foreclosure sale. You keep the first $300K and your debtors get the rest. They were in Georgia. The only home that was at issue where she acknowledged on the bankruptcy papers that she did that transfer within the time period that Cardi B's lawyers can set it aside. So ultimately, when you're doing a Chapter 11, it's not guaranteed. If the court does not feel like you are moving in good faith and that you have disclosed all your assets and have created, the quote was a reasonable payment plan. If you've not made a reasonable payment plan and reasonable payment plan, then the court doesn't have to accept it. And if they are able, most importantly, if Cardi B's attorneys are able to prove fraud, to prove she's moved money to other countries, other states, they're not the only one who's going to know that. I would be shocked if the feds do not also pick that up because that means she's not paying taxes on that money. However, if she pays taxes on the money, she's going to have to disclose where it's located, obviously.
So guys, you're beginning to see how this thing is not looking to go to Tasha K. It's a tangled web that she has woven. She is getting all caught up in this tangled web and she doesn't even realize it.
Right? She just moved it there because she didn't want Cardi B's team to be able to garnish it. So we'll have to keep track. Somebody said the house is a rental property now. Yes. Oh, let me speak to that. Genius, Miss Tasha. That was smart of you and your husband as well. Why? Because when you can show that the property is garnering income, a court is less likely to require you to sell it to satisfy bankruptcy debts. Now, first of all, it's not her homestead because she's not living in it as her property. It's a rental property. But how she's renting it and getting income, what's going to happen is that rental income will be Cardi B's. That's actually how ex-President Trump was able to file bankruptcy 8 different times, but still keep Mar-a-Lago. Because in every bankruptcy, he listed it as his asset, can't be up here not listing, and then was able to show that the memberships there are $100,000 per member. So he was garnering buku money, and then that money could be used as part of the payment plan. They don't take all of it, but they take a large portion of it to satisfy the debts under the bankruptcy. So effectively, somebody said this is a lifelong gift to Cardi B. Can they go after her for federal fraud charges? So yes. So Lola, you might be jumping in late, but what I was sharing is they can absolutely go after her for the federal fraud charges.
So guys, at this point, drop your comments in the comment section. How many of you think that Tasha K is going to end up doing some jail time in all of this? Drop your comments.
They can absolutely go after her for the federal fraud charges due to the fact that they can go after her fraud charges just like they went after Teresa Giudice due to the fact that the fraud is bankruptcy fraud. The same way they'll get you for perjury. All of that is federal. So the feds will come and get you and you will go to jail. And you won't be able to file bankruptcy. No more.
So Tasha is playing with the feds, folks. You're talking IRS. You're talking just fudging the numbers, fudging the amount of money that she has, squirreled away money over there in Africa, transferring property into her husband's name, closing out a company, opening up a new company, all to evade paying Cardi B, which is all considered fraud.
So the gist of what we found is Tasha K both Tasha K and her studio were sued, Kebby Studios. Kebby Studios, though, didn't file for bankruptcy. And that my guess is going to be because they own the assets that she really wants. They own, she likely transferred, we saw the trade, she owned the older trademark, but the new trademark is her husband's, excuse me. They also are getting all of the YouTube money and so forth, either Kebby or the new entity. So what she did was Kebby Studios, who was ruled against, who they said owes, $500,000. Kebby Studios, she terminated it. She terminated it with the state. She ended it. It doesn't exist anymore. She terminated it in April of this year so that she wouldn't have to pay any money from Kebby, because Kebby is where the YouTube money was going. And most importantly, she opens up another entity doing the same thing. So she's going to have some issues because, remember, she listed Kebby as a co-debtor. She listed debts, current debts. I'm going to end with this. Remember, she ended current debt. She had the current debts of Kebby Studios were listed as her co-debtors and her co-debts. So what that means is she's trying to say, hey, they are currently racking up debts. She lists Kebby Studios, and we have that. She lists Kebby Studios as a co-debtor, right? Kebby Studios, though, doesn't exist anymore.
So the new company is Yellen Entertainment, and that's under her husband. So guys, we get a good picture as what's going on. Drop your comments. I'm over and out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and to this video. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.